My father didn't raise his voice. He just looked across the table, smiled at the woman beside him, and said, "Everyone, this is Elena. She's the reason I'm finally happy again." The room froze. My brother's fork stopped midair. My sister's wine glass hovered an inch from her lips. And I felt something crack inside my chest, something that had been holding for 5 years. Because the woman sitting next to my 65-year-old father, she was 45, younger than my oldest brother, younger than the grief we thought he'd been carrying. And she was wearing my mother's apron. Before I tell you what happened next, I need you to know something. This story is about family secrets, manipulation, and the moment I had to choose between keeping the peace and protecting someone I love. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, or watched someone be taken advantage of, stay until the end. Because what we discovered changed everything. Growing up in Chicago, I learned early that in our family, someone always led and someone always followed. My father, Robert, was a mechanical engineer at a major firm downtown. Solid, respected, the kind of man who fixed things with his hands and didn't talk much about feelings. My mother, Catherine, was the warmth that held us together. She taught elementary school for 30 years. She knew everyone's birthday, everyone's favorite meal, everyone's unspoken pain. When she died 5 years ago, cancer, quick and merciless, we became something else. A family bound by memory, not presence. I'm 38, the youngest. Michael. I learned to be the peacemaker, the one who checked in, who organized dinners, who made sure Dad wasn't spending every evening alone in that house in Lincoln Park. My older brother, Daniel, 45, lives in Boston now. Successful consultant. Married. 2 kids. He became distant after Mom died. Functional but cold. He'd call on birthdays, send cards, but he stopped coming home. My sister, Rachel, 42, lives in Denver. Divorced, works in marketing. She turned bitter after the funeral, sharp in ways she never used to be. She blamed Dad for things he couldn't control. For not catching the cancer sooner. For moving on too fast when he sold Mom's car. And Dad became a ghost in his own house. He'd sit in the living room with the TV on but never watching. He'd make dinner for one and eat it standing at the counter. He'd sleep in the guest room because their bedroom still smelled like her perfume. Until 6 months ago. That's when he started smiling again. When he started shaving every morning. When he started wearing cologne to the grocery store. At first, I thought it was healing. Now I know it was something else. Our family wasn't broken after Mom died. It was performed. We had routines. Sunday phone calls. Monthly dinners when Daniel or Rachel visited. Holidays at the house on Burling Street, where we'd grown up. But underneath the calendar, there was silence. No one talked about how Rachel stopped visiting after the funeral. She came for Mom's birthday that first year, stood in the driveway for 10 minutes, and left without coming inside. No one mentioned how Daniel refused to go through Mom's things. When I asked for help sorting her clothes for donation, he said he wasn't ready. That was 3 years ago. Her closet is still untouched. No one asked why Dad sold her car 3 weeks after she passed. A 2009 Toyota Camry she'd driven for 15 years. He sold it to a neighbor for $2,000 and never mentioned it again. We just moved forward, and I was the one left behind, holding the weight. I was the one who found Dad crying in the garage on their anniversary. I was the one who stayed on the phone with him at 2 a.m. when he couldn't sleep. I was the one who drove to Lincoln Park every Sunday to make sure he'd eaten something other than toast. My partner, Jamie, started to notice. "You're not his therapist," they said once, gently, after I'd canceled our weekend plans to sit with Dad during a particularly hard week. "He's my father," I said. "What am I supposed to do?" "You're supposed to live your own life." I didn't understand what they meant, but I do now. My life outside that house was small, but it was real. I worked as a content coordinator for a nonprofit in the South Loop. We helped formerly incarcerated people find housing and jobs. It wasn't glamorous, but it mattered. I had Jamie, who I'd met 4 years ago at a community fundraiser. They were a graphic designer, funny and patient in ways I didn't know I needed. Jamie saw me struggle with Dad's grief. They saw me cancel plans to drive to Lincoln Park. They saw me carry a weight I couldn't name. One night, after another tense family dinner where Dad barely spoke and I overcompensated by talking too much, Jamie and I sat in our apartment in Pilsen. They made tea. We didn't say anything for a long time. Then Jamie turned to me and said, "You know you're allowed to have a life that isn't about managing theirs, right?" I stared at my cup. "He's alone, Jamie. Mom's gone. Daniel and Rachel don't visit. If I don't show up, then he'll have to figure it out," Jamie said, not unkindly. "You're not responsible for his healing." At the time, I thought they didn't understand. But they understood perfectly. They understood that I was so busy keeping Dad afloat that I'd forgotten how to swim myself. Dad called me 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. His voice was different, lighter, almost excited. "Michael, I want to host this year. The whole family. I have something important to share." I felt relief flood through me. Hosting meant he was present again. Engaged. Maybe even healing. "That's great, Dad. What do you need? Just get your brother and sister here. I'll handle the rest." I spent the next 2 weeks coordinating. Confirmed with Daniel in Boston. He was reluctant but agreed. Confirmed with Rachel in Denver. She sighed heavily but said she'd come. Bought the wine Dad liked, a California Zinfandel Mom used to serve. Prepped the side dishes he couldn't manage alone. Stuffing, cranberry sauce, green bean casserole. The morning of Thanksgiving, I arrived at the house at 9 a.m. Dad's truck was in the driveway, but there was another car parked behind it. A silver Honda Accord I didn't recognize. I let myself in with my key. The house smelled like roasting turkey and fresh bread. And there was music playing. Etta James. At last. Mom's favorite song. I walked into the kitchen. And that's when I saw her. She was standing at the counter, wearing one of Mom's aprons, the blue one with the sunflowers, chopping vegetables. Her dark hair was pulled back. She looked younger than me. Maybe mid-40s. She looked up and smiled. "Oh, you must be Michael. Your dad's told me so much about you." I stood there, frozen, my keys still in my hand. "I'm sorry, who are you?" She wiped her hands on the apron, Mom's apron, and extended one toward me. "I'm Elena. Your father and I have been seeing each other. Seeing each other. Not dating. Not, we've been spending time together. Not, I'm a friend. Seeing each other. Like it was casual. Like it was expected. Like I was supposed to know. How long?" I managed. She glanced toward the hallway, where I could hear Dad's voice talking on the phone in his office. "About 6 months. But don't worry. He wanted to tell you all together. Today. 6 months. He'd been seeing someone for 6 months, and none of us knew." That's great," I said, because I didn't know what else to say. She smiled again, warmer this time, and went back to chopping. "He's really excited for you all to meet me. He says you're the one who kept him going after Catherine passed." Hearing her say my mother's name felt like a slap. I set my bag down carefully and walked outside. My hands were shaking. I called Jamie from the front porch. "There's a woman in my dad's kitchen," I said, my voice tight, "wearing my mom's apron." "What?" "Her name is Elena. They've been seeing each other for 6 months. I'm just finding out now." Jamie was quiet for a moment. "How old is she?" "I don't know. Younger. A lot younger." "Michael, I know," I cut in. "I know what you're going to say. But Jamie, she's in Mom's kitchen. Wearing Mom's apron. Cooking in Mom's house. Did your dad tell you about her?" "No." "She did." Another pause. "Then he's been hiding her." I looked back through the window. Elena was humming now, arranging flowers in Mom's vase. "Yeah," I said quietly. "He has." Daniel and Rachel arrived within an hour of each other. I pulled them aside before they went inside. "There's someone here," I said. "Who?" Daniel asked, already annoyed. "Dad's girlfriend." Rachel's face went white. "His what?" "Her name is Elena. She's inside. She's been with him for 6 months." 6 months. Rachel's voice was rising. "And he didn't tell us?" "Apparently he wanted to introduce her today." Daniel exhaled slowly, the way he did when he was trying not to explode. "How old is she?" "I don't know." "Younger." "How much younger?" I just looked at him. Rachel swore under her breath. "This is insane." Dinner started normally. Dad carved the turkey with the same precision he'd used for 40 years. Daniel made small talk about his consulting firm's new project in Cambridge. Rachel checked her phone every few minutes, her jaw tight. And Elena sat beside Dad, smiling, laughing, touching his arm like she belonged there. She asked us questions. What we did for work, where we lived, how we were handling the anniversary of Mom's passing. That last question made Rachel set down her fork. We manage, she said coldly. Dad cleared his throat. Elena's been a huge help to me this year, he said. She understands loss. She's been through it herself. Oh, Daniel said, his consultant voice kicking in. Polite but probing. You've lost someone too? Elena nodded, her face softening. My mother, when I was in my 20s. And my second husband, about 3 years ago. Second husband. I glanced at Rachel. Her eyes were sharp now, focused. I'm sorry to hear that, Daniel said. How did you two meet? Elena looked at Dad. He smiled. At a grief support group, he said. In Naperville. I was struggling after Catherine, and a friend recommended it. Elena was one of the group leaders. Group leader. Something about that phrase made my chest tighten. That's wonderful, I said carefully. How long have you been leading those groups? Elena glanced at me, her smile still in place, but her eyes a little cooler now. Oh, I wouldn't say I lead them. I just help facilitate. I've been attending different groups for a few years now. It's been healing for me too. Attending different groups. Rachel looked at me across the table. I saw the same question in her eyes that was forming in mine. Then, halfway through the meal, Dad stood. I want to say something. We all looked up. These past 5 years have been the hardest of my life. Losing Catherine broke me in ways I didn't know I could break. Rachel's jaw tightened. Daniel put down his fork. But I've realized something, Dad continued. Life doesn't stop, and I don't want to spend the rest of mine alone. He looked at Elena, who reached for his hand. Elena has been a light I didn't think I'd find again. She's kind, patient, and she understands what it means to lose someone. Oh no! And I wanted you all here today because I have something important to tell you. Please don't say it. Elena and I are getting married. Next spring. The silence that followed was suffocating. Rachel's wine glass hit the table hard enough to splash. You're what? We're getting married, Dad repeated, his voice defensive now. I know it seems fast, but when you've been through what we've been through, you learn not to waste time. Fast! Rachel's voice was shaking. Dad, you've known her for 6 months. Mom's been gone for 5 years and your mother would want me to be happy, Dad said sharply. Don't, Rachel snapped. Don't you dare speak for her. Rachel, I started. No. She stood, her chair scraping back. This is insane. She's younger than Daniel. She's sitting right here, Elena said quietly, her voice calm but firm. And I understand this is a shock, but I love your father, and I'm not trying to replace anyone. You're wearing my mother's apron, Rachel said, her voice breaking. Elena looked down, as if just realizing. Robert gave it to me. I didn't. Get out. Rachel! Dad's voice was thunderous now. I said get out. Rachel grabbed her coat and walked out the front door. The sound of it slamming echoed through the house. The rest of Thanksgiving was a disaster. Daniel left an hour after Rachel, muttering something about an early flight. I stayed to help clean up, mostly because I didn't know what else to do. Elena had retreated to the guest room. Dad and I stood in the kitchen in silence, scraping plates. She'll come around, he said finally. I didn't respond. Michael, say something. I set down the dish I was holding and turned to face him. Did you think about how we'd feel? What? 6 months, Dad. You've been seeing her for 6 months, and you didn't tell us. You didn't prepare us. You just sprung this on us at Thanksgiving. I wanted it to be special. It's not special. It's ambush. His face reddened. I don't need your permission to be happy. No, I said quietly. But you do need to think about how your choices affect the people who love you. I grabbed my coat. I need some air. I called Jamie from my car. He's marrying her, I said, my voice shaking. 6 months. She's 45. She was wearing Mom's apron. Jamie was quiet for a moment. Did he ask how any of you felt? No. Did he warn you she'd be there? No. Jamie exhaled slowly. Michael, I need you to hear me. This isn't about love. This is about loneliness. And someone is taking advantage of that. You don't know that. Don't I? Jamie's voice was gentle but firm. She's younger than your brother. She met him at a grief group. She's been through 2 husbands. And your dad is a 65-year-old widower with a house in Lincoln Park and a pension. I gripped the steering wheel. What are you saying? I'm saying you need to find out who she really is. I didn't sleep that night. I kept seeing Elena in that apron. In Mom's kitchen, holding Dad's hand, smiling like she'd already won. The next morning, I called Daniel. We need to talk about this, I said. He sighed. What's there to talk about? He's an adult. If he wants to marry someone half his age, that's his choice. Daniel, she met him at a grief group. Silence. What? She's been attending different grief groups for years. She told us at dinner. And she's been divorced twice. How do you know that? She said so. She mentioned her second husband. Another pause. I'll make some calls, Daniel said finally. I called Rachel next. She answered on the first ring. I'm not apologizing. I'm not asking you to, I said. But I need your help. With what? Finding out who Elena really is. For the first time in years, Rachel and I were on the same side. It took 3 days. Daniel had a friend who worked in corporate due diligence. Someone who ran background checks for mergers and acquisitions. One discreet inquiry later, we had a file. I opened it on my laptop in the apartment, while Jamie looked over my shoulder. Elena Vasquez, 45 years old, born in Schaumburg, Illinois, married 1998 to 2004, divorced, married 2008 to 2016, divorced, filed for bankruptcy in 2019, current employment, part-time administrative assistant, Northwestern Memorial Hospital, residence, studio apartment, Evanston. Jamie pointed at the screen. Look at the addresses. I scrolled down. Over the past 5 years, Elena had lived in 4 different places, all of them short-term leases, all of them in affluent suburbs. Naperville, Oak Park, Wilmette, Evanston. She moves around a lot, I said. Or she's looking for something, Jamie said quietly. I kept scrolling. And then I saw it. Group affiliations. North Shore Grief Support Network, 2020 to 2021. DuPage Widows and Widowers Group, 2021 to 2022. Chicago Bereaved Family Support, 2022 to 2023. Naperville Grief Share Program, 2023. Present, 4 different groups. All of them for people who'd lost spouses. I felt my stomach drop. She's been doing this, I said. Jamie nodded slowly. She's been targeting widowers. I called Daniel and Rachel immediately. We set up a video call. You need to see this, I said, and shared my screen. Rachel read through the file in silence. When she got to the group affiliations, she looked up at the camera. She's a fucking predator. Daniel leaned back in his chair, his face pale. How do we tell him? We don't, I said. Not yet. We need more. More. Rachel's voice was sharp. Michael, this is enough. She's been going to grief groups for years. She's twice divorced and bankrupt. She's obviously after his money. I know, I said. But Dad won't believe us unless we have something undeniable. Something she can't explain away. Daniel nodded slowly. Michael's right. If we go to him now, he'll think we're just trying to sabotage his happiness. We need proof that she's done this before. How do we get that? Rachel asked. I thought for a moment. We go to the groups. Over the next week, I visited 3 different grief support groups in the Chicago area. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. Not even Jamie. I just showed up, introduced myself as someone struggling with loss, and listened. At the second group, in Oak Park, I met a woman named Margaret. She was in her 70s, sharp-eyed and kind. After the meeting, I approached her. Can I ask you something? Did a woman named Elena Vasquez ever attend this group? Margaret's face changed. Why do you want to know? She's dating my father. I'm trying to understand who she is. Margaret looked at me for a long moment. Then she said, she was here for about 6 months. Very friendly. Very helpful. She connected with a man named George. He was widowed, lonely. They started seeing each other. What happened? He gave her $15,000 to help with her mother's medical bills. 3 weeks later, she stopped coming to group. George never heard from her again. My blood ran cold. Did he report it? To who? He gave her the money willingly. And she was smart. No contracts, no texts, just cash. I thanked Margaret and left. I had what I needed. I called Daniel and Rachel that night. I found someone. A man named George. Elena left that night. No dramatics. No apologies. Just a cold, silent exit. She grabbed her coat, walked to the door, and paused. "You'll regret this," she said quietly, not looking at any of us. Then she was gone. Dad sank into his chair. None of us spoke for a long time. Finally, Rachel sat beside him. "Dad, I'm an idiot," he said, his voice breaking. "I'm a lonely, desperate idiot." "You're not an idiot," I said, kneeling in front of him. "You were grieving, and she took advantage of that. Your mother would be ashamed of me." "No," Rachel said firmly. "She'd be furious at her. Not you." Dad covered his face with his hands, and for the first time since Mom's funeral, we sat with him while he cried. 3 months later, things started to change. We started family therapy, not because everything was fixed, but because we finally admitted it was broken. Dad started volunteering at a community center on the north side, teaching woodworking to kids. Rachel visited more. Not every week, but more. She even brought her boyfriend once. Daniel opened up about his own grief, how he'd buried himself in work because he didn't know how else to cope. And me, I learned that loving someone doesn't mean carrying them. One Saturday afternoon, I found Dad in the garage. He was going through Mom's things, something he'd avoided for 5 years. He held up an old photo. Mom in the garden, laughing, dirt on her hands. She would have hated that apron on someone else, he said with a small, sad smile. Yeah, I said. She would have. He set the photo aside carefully. Thank you, he said, for protecting me, even when I didn't want to be protected. I put my hand on his shoulder. That's what family does. If this story touched something in you, I want you to know you're not alone. If you've ever watched someone you love be manipulated, if you've had to choose between keeping the peace and telling the truth, if you've carried the weight of your family's pain because no one else would, your story deserves to be heard. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Tell me your story if you're ready, and subscribe for the next chapter, because there are more truths to uncover, and I'm not done telling them.